Good morning, everybody. And of course, what you talking about, Philadelphia? Your weekly wait for infotainment is over. The agony of anticipation is finally over. It is time for Find It in Fishtown Live here on WWDB 860 AM, brought to you by the fabulous Fishtown District. I'm Mark Colazzo with the itchy to my scratchy, Kay Anderson. Kay is always sitting there in her little bunker, getting everything all ready to go. But let me tell you a little bit about the Fishtown District before we get into today's program. Fishtown District is located just northeast of Center City, Philadelphia, and our active business corridor encompasses world-renowned restaurants, outstanding taverns, boutique hotels, and the unrivaled Fillmore concert venue. The area, which includes businesses along Frankfort Avenue, Girard Avenue, and North Front Street, is rich in history and features culinary delights, modern and traditional art, a vibrant nightlife, and most importantly, me and Kay. Make sure, besides listening to us on WWDB, you can also watch the live stream and see our pretty punums, for those that know Yiddish, are laughing hysterically, on the Fishtown District on Facebook, and find out everything that's happening in the fabulous Fishtown District at fishtowndistrict.com. Lastly, and most importantly, because I know you're going to want to talk to us, give us a call on the Find It in Fishtown hotline at 888-329-3306. And as we get started, first off, Kay, you haven't said good morning. You got to say good morning.
Good morning.
Well, there you go. By the way, for those that are watching the live stream, I want to just bring it right off the bat before we get to Kay's Corner. Kay got a new hairstyle, and it is fabulous.
You know that yesterday my partner kept going in between calling me Curly K and Big Hair K.
Which do you prefer?
You know, I think I like big hair. It comes with a little more attitude.
And from someone who grew up in the 80s, big hair, closer to God.
Exactly.
You're bringing me way back. But it looks great.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, Matt.
Thank you.
That's right. So let's kick off pretty much what everybody loves about Find It at Fishtown Live, Kay's Corner.
That was so
That's
professional.
Awesome.
I was so into it.
We're really growing into this.
I know, right? But anyway, so it is St. Patrick's Day, which if you have lived in the River Wars area at all, you know that's a big deal.
Very much so.
You know, so there's definitely going to be a bunch of folks selling Kiss Me I'm Irish t-shirts on Aramingo Avenue at some point.
I actually see them on Richmond Street. That's where I live in Port Richmond. And usually it's about 2 weeks before.
Oh, absolutely. They might be all sold out at this time.
Yes.
You were sleeping if you didn't get yours yet.
Well, that's a possibility.
But if you are looking for a place to spend St. Patrick's Day in the neighborhood, we do have a ton of great taverns and bars for you to check out in Fishtown.
We do. Well, where do we find those, Kay?
You know, you can go to fishtowndistrict.com.
Snap.
You can go to Fishtown District on Facebook. Or you can just walk the streets of Frankfort Avenue and East Girard and stumble upon them on your very own.
I have a feeling you're going to hear a lot of singing, people in green. So, Kay, tell us a little bit about where we could go today to get the real spirit of the Irish.
Well, we do have an Irish pub here in Fishtown on East Girard. It's called Murph's.
Love Murph's.
Murph's actually sells Italian food.
Yes. Which fits perfectly with today's theme.
Oh, absolutely. But it is the best Italian food in all of Fishtown, in my opinion. Actually, probably all of Philadelphia.
It's because the chef, from what I understand, is actually from
Yes.
Italy. Like, got here and went to work at Murph's.
Absolutely. So check that place out. It's a great date night. And then once you're done there, you can meander down the rest of East Girard and hit Garage, Lloyd's, or even Craftwork.
Love each and every one of them. Now, for those that don't have a thesaurus at home, meander means what, Kay?
Oh, that means walk slowly without destination.
There you go. See? That's why we call it an infotainment. You learn while you enjoy.
Right, exactly.
What if someone, though, besides having a good time, because that's what everybody loves to do in the Fishtown District, they want to give something a little back, share the luck, as it will?
Ooh, well, if you want to give back, you can actually go to our blood drive today. Mark, where's that at?
I believe it's at the fabulous Fillmore.
And what time and where can they make an appointment
I
at?
believe it's 10 to 3 p.m.
Ooh. Ooh.
If you go to the Fishtown at the Fishtown District on Facebook, you'll see the flyer, and it's a way to help others. You know, we've certainly had a year for the ages, and getting blood is at a premium, and it is a way that we always like to remind people that, which is really why we did this show. It's the people that make up our district that really makes what we do special, and our corridor so special. And this is just an example of that. I've worn something that I can easily roll my sleeve up. So you'll see me there, passed out, probably begging for a cookie. I think that's how they sucker you in. Matt, is that right? Matt, our producer, he loves to give blood.
Oh yeah, it's because of the cookie.
Yeah, thank you.
And helping people.
Yeah, see, give him the assist on that one, Ken. He was right there, ready to go.
I know.
Now, besides the big hair K, is there any projects or anything that we can look out for before we get into today's topic, which is, now that we're talking about all these exciting things, we're going to talk about Blight.
Right.
But is there anything that people should look out for the next several days here in the Fishtown District besides just going out?
Well, you know...
How about live shows returning? Snap, see? Threw you that one.
Yes, you did. We do have indoor shows coming back to the Punchline. So if you are interested in seeing comedy, you can check out, they have a all-star comedy lineup, which features local comedians. That's a great show. I've seen it before. Definitely recommend that one. They also have some pretty big acts coming up. So go to the Punchline and check out tickets.
Look, can't wait. It is so exciting that things are now... We all have to exhale when we say this and cross our fingers that are opening up a little bit. Certainly the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania really threw us a nice curve for a change that for Kay and I, who certainly love the red pinstripes, can't wait for the Phillies to open, that there's a possibility that it'll be half capacity, I think, come April 4th. So fingers crossed that the city catches up. Can't come too soon because there is nothing, and I mean nothing, like the summertime in the Fishtown District. If you want to be outside, no better place to people watch. I even will stay out past 9 p.m.,
Ooh.
which is rare. I think yesterday, honest to God, Kay, I sat in the love seat. I put on a show. Oh, what the heck? It was something about Bin Laden's hidden hard drive. So needless to say, I was bored. And then the next thing I know, I woke up and it was 10:30. So
There's nothing more pathetic than an aging hipster.
Gotta drop the mic there. Was that Dr. Evil?
Oh, of course.
Oh, I love Dr. Evil. See, Matt knows as long as you put sound effects in the show, I'm a happy guy. By the way, great Case Corner.
Thank you.
I love it. Love the music. I felt like I learned quite a bit today.
Oh, good.
Now we're going to educate a little more.
Yes, I am excited about today's guest.
So, and this is sort of a topic that it doesn't matter where you are in the city of Philadelphia.
It definitely affects you.
That there's always that one property, it could be on an otherwise good block, that is vacant, blighted, boarded up, has become a place of, whether it's graffiti, decay, people breaking in it to, squat or steal or worse. And it really affects the quality of life of everybody around it. And I'm not just talking about residential properties. We're talking about commercial or industrial. And the city of Philadelphia and the Department of Licenses and Inspection, they can do only so much. They certainly, try to respond to everything, and they can secure a property, or at least the lower level, and then it kind of sits. So, Kay, I don't know if you knew this in my prior life.
You have a lot of prior lives.
I do have a lot of prior lives. I'm like Shirley MacLaine, for those of you who know that she was the one who thought she was reincarnated like 8 times. Yeah, this is me.
So which prior life is this?
This was my day in the days in the PA legislature.
Ooh.
Yes,
This
yes.
is an exciting one.
Right, yes. Blight. And we worked on an act called the Conservatorship Act. And Anyone who knows me knows that I've uttered those words many a time. But it's a tool that allows groups like the Fishtown District, nonprofit developers to identify that problem vacant property, go to court to take possession of it, and then return it to productive use. Get it back in the hands of a family or a business or commercial tenants. And the rewards are many. Obviously, quality of life is improved, blight is removed, liens are paid, taxes, the city's tax bills are brought up to date, and then the city gets an ongoing new revenue stream because the property is productively used. And yet still enough people don't know about it. So our guests today are sort of the Gladys Knight and the Pips of the Conservatorship Act. We are lucky to be joined by Beth Grossman, Richard Vanderslice, and Joel Palmer. Guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
They're usually far more zany than they are right now, but we're going to jump right into it. How is everybody today? You excited?
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Early.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. For those that don't know, Beth Grossman, and Beth, we'll get to her in a little bit. Beth and I have a special bond. This is one of my prior lives, Kay, that Beth and I were counselors in training in high school at Camp Levites in Northeast Philadelphia, because we are spoiled kids that we had to find the one air-conditioned camp in the entire city of Philadelphia. But we really killed it. I think we really, because we knew, right, Beth, that children are our future, so we had to teach them well and let them lead the way.
And we certainly did.
We did. Well, you're looking fabulous as always.
Oof.
But I want to start with Rick. Rick, tell us a little bit, because this has been a primary part of your practice. Tell us a little bit about why you believe the act is so important and why it needs to be utilized more.
Sure thing. It's great to talk to you again, and wish we were having a green beer in Fishtown today. But as you know, the act was passed in 2008, and in about 2011, I helped Joe file one of the first ones in Philadelphia. As you said, the act allows you to petition the court and prove certain factors to show that it's blighted and not in use legally. And once you prove that to the court, you're allowed to fix it up and return it to productive use for the community. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of what it takes to prove the factors, but that's kind of the broad strokes of what you need to bring one of these cases and try and help out your neighborhood.
And that's sort of a good intro, Rick, because people, as you know, we've all dealt with it. They automatically, when they hear about the act, they'll see a property that's vacant and automatically they think that it applies, and that's not the case. And we always used to joke that it's like art. I know it when I see it. What are some of the things that people need to look out for to identify a conservatorship property?
Well, if it hasn't been occupied for at least a year, it hasn't changed hands in 6 months, and it's not for sale, those are the primary factors you look for. And then it's more of the art of it. You want to make sure see if it's been broken into or boarded up by the Department of License and Inspection. If children are actively attracted to it, if there's so much debris or vegetation that it's causing problems with the structure or the surrounding neighborhoods, if there's illicit activity going on, such as drugs or vagrancy or squatters, or we've driven one person that was running a prostitution ring out of one property and then filed on another property and had the same person in there. So it's when you see it, but there are certain factors that the court you have to prove and we can help you do that.
After identifying the property and that it seems to fit some of the qualifications, you as a practitioner, what do we do next? What does the common neighbor do who wants to come to you? And we're going to get to, after the break, talking about the fabulous story of the lovely and talented Joel Palmer. But tell us a little bit about what comes next after identification.
After identifying the property, you got to figure out who owns it and where they are. Then you ask the court through a petition to appoint a conservator to take possession of the property. You present a plan to the court as to what you're going to do with the property, usually fix it up or demolish it. Once you're in court, you prove the factors that we talked about. After the court hears your argument, if someone responds to the petition, they have a chance to tell the court why it doesn't fit, or say, hey, we're going to fix it, and show the court that they have the ability to do so. After that, the court will decide whether or not to appoint a conservator. If the conservator is appointed, the conservator goes to work, insuring the property and starting to finalize its plan as to what it's going to do with the property, and presents that to the court. Once the court says, looks good to me, the conservator gets to go in and take care of the blight. Once that's done, the owner has the opportunity to say, thank you, conservator, here's what you spent, and take over the property, or the conservator can sell it to recoup their costs and fee for the service.
And roughly how long does that whole process take from start to finish?
Well, in pre-COVID times, it could take anywhere from 6 months to a couple of years, depending on the size of the property and the intensity with which the case is litigated. But these days, the court's kind of ramping back up, and I think that we're going to get back on that schedule fairly soon. But unfortunately, like a lot of things during this time, things have kind of sat.
Rick, just to clarify for everybody, because we use the term conservator, and certainly we use that as a term of art, what does that actually mean for the layman?
Well, you can think of it as a conservator as a trustee or a guardian of the property. They're given the responsibility by the court to take care of the property once they're appointed, and until the owner pays back the conservator, or the property is sold by the conservator, they're entrusted with maintaining the property and getting it up to a non-blighting influence on the community.
Before we go to break, what are the benefits to this as opposed to what L&I can do?
Well, L&I is a responsive agency. So someone has to call L&I, and they have to come out and look and, do what they can. Sometimes they can board it up in certain circumstances. A conservator has a much more broad ability to not only inspect the property, but to take action once they're appointed. A conservator can actually make the property rehabilitated, as opposed to the Department of License and Inspection, which can only demolish the property or board it up. So a conservator can make the property look like it is in good shape, whereas L&I has very limited tools to address the safety rather than the actual appearance of the property.
We're going to take a break to let everybody digest all of that fascinating information, but we're going to be right back with Finding the Fishtown Live in 2 and 2.
It's been part of Philly for over 10 years, so Rivers Casino Philadelphia knows how you like to play. With better odds, more playtime, an upgraded rewards program, plus a state-of-the-art sports book, great restaurants, and more. Everything that real players want, without the overpriced distractions. Rivers Casino Philadelphia is for those who play to win, not play to pay for some fancy new place. Rivers Casino Philadelphia, always on our game. Gambling gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late, we stay informed, we invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
That music makes me so happy. Welcome back, everybody, to Find It in Fishtown live here on WWDB 860 AM, brought to you by the fabulous Fishtown District. And where can you find the fabulous Fishtown District, Kay?
FishtownDistrict.com.
And if you wanted to watch this lovely broadcast, where can we go?
Fishtown District on Facebook.
Oh, you're doing great. You're listening to the Wonder Twins of the airwaves. I'm Mark Colaza with Kay Anderson, and we're talking about fighting blight in the Fishtown District and really everywhere. And as we were being joined today by Beth Grossman, Richard Vanderslice, and Joel Palmer, we were talking about something that's kind of near and dear to me, the Conservatorship Act, Act 135. During one of my prior lives working in the House of Representatives, I had the privilege of helping to author this and the 2014 amendment, House Bill 1363. And I want to get you really the guy that I got to work with and the group I got to work with to bring this law to life. Because it's one thing to write something that is wonderful, that you think is really going to help. It's another thing to watch it sit there. And back in the day, L&I was by former Commissioner Fran Burns. Fran, if you're listening, hello. She put together a conservatorship group. And though L&I never followed through, I did have the privilege of seeing my good friend Richard Vanderslice, a colleague from my law days, and this next gentleman, Joel Palmer, who started a nonprofit called Shirley Turco. Joel, if you can, tell a little bit about what Shirley Turco is and what made you start it.
Well, like many people, Mark, and first of all, thank you for having us on this morning, and it's a privilege to be here. In my own neighborhood, Bella Vista, there was a building that was a former VFW, and it had fallen on hard times. And before I moved here, it was taken over in the 80s by organized crime people and used as a clubhouse. And then it was shut down and boarded up. And it was a pretty ugly building, clearly the worst in our neighborhood. And being involved with the Town Watch and the Neighbors Association, I felt we could do something about it. And I had run into Richard at Housing Alliance meeting, and he said, there's an Act 135, we can file on that. And so we did. And it was an interesting case because in those days, there was really no, precedent or anything. So we walked it through Court of Common Pleas, also the Orphans Court, and determined that the building was blighted and worked out something with the national VFW to take over possession of it. We cleaned that building up, redivided it, and sold it to a developer. And it is now 2 condominiums and a single family home. So it was a beneficial thing for the neighborhood. And that VFW chapter was known as Shirley Turco Chapter 593. and it was named after two World War I Italian-American veterans. So we liked the name and we took it. And the Secretary of State said it was not active, so we could have it. So we've adopted the name for the organization. And today we're part of Caring People Alliance, a much larger organization, nonprofit organization here in Philadelphia. And under their umbrella, we've been able to grow as an organization.
What made you decide to make this sort of your life's work at that point? Because certainly, as you just kind of explained, you had some pitfalls doing this project. It was, I know from our many years working together, that was not an easy one. Why Act 135 and why you doing it?
It struck me that Philadelphia, and again, when I first moved here, I can tell a story. I was reading the Inquirer one morning and I was new to Philadelphia, and the article might have been by Inga Saffron, said there were 40,000 vacant and abandoned properties in Philadelphia. And I thought to myself, nah, that's a misprint. They mean 4,000. It was not a misprint. There are 40,000. And I was pretty sure I couldn't do anything about 40,000, but I was pretty sure that I could do something about one at a time. So at that time, I partnered with a guy named Jeff Goldman, who was a co-founder of Sholi Turco and has since retired. And we began doing these serially, one at a time, one after the other. And I had a career in sales and marketing, most recently in the pharmaceutical industry, and was retiring from that. And this gave me something that I could do. And everybody, I think, fancies themselves as a builder or designer or an architect. And in the early days, we would take a property and finish it, complete, move in, just bring your toothbrush, stainless steel kitchens, hardwood floors, beautiful structures. We also weren't making any money at it. In fact, we were barely breaking even. So we found out it was a great idea, but we weren't that good at it. And we decided to leave that part of it to the folks who were. So when we do a building now, and we do them in multiples, I think Beth will tell you when she goes through where we are today, that we're probably managing a caseload of between 20 and 30 at any time. But we take a building that is clearly blighted, bring it to a safe, unblighted condition, and then sell it on to a developer to finish, if the building is in fact sold.
And just to remind our listeners and viewers, if you want to call in and ask any questions, either to me or Kay or our guest, give us a call toll free at 888-329-3306. That's 888-329-3306. And I see Kay busting to want to ask a question. Kay, fire away.
Well, I was curious. You said that your current caseload is somewhere between 20 and 30 properties. How many would you say total conservatorships have you guys completed?
I know for a number, because typically judges will ask for that in a hearing, that we have filed about 150 over the 10-year period since 2011. And depending on how you classify it, some of those are what, and Rick and Beth can talk about it, are settled by agreement with the owners. But the ones that we've completed would be in the 90 or 100 range.
And those are all within the city of Philadelphia?
In the greater Philadelphia area, as far north as the Northeast, as far south as the Naval Yard, as far west as West Philadelphia. Yes.
Wow. And real fast, Joel, what is the sort of the model for Sholi Turco? What do you look for in picking a property and making a decision to move forward with litigation?
Well, the first thing we look at after the building itself, because as you indicated, a blighted building is sort of self-evident, broken windows, roof failing, graffiti, clip violations, taxes unpaid, and so forth. We look at the neighborhood itself, and we're looking for neighborhoods that there is evidence that other people are fixing up houses or building, and there is development going on. We don't want to be a pioneer.
Though we often seem to be when it comes to this act, right? I mean,
It is true. Sometimes we've gone into neighborhoods, and once we fix a particular building, you start to see an effect of the surrounding buildings. For instance, like the Sholi Turco VFW. Once that was done over at 8th Street and Fitzwater, buildings around it that were, let's just say, a little bit shabby, began to sell and be redeveloped.
That's great. Now, Beth is the most recent addition to the Dream Team. So, Beth, besides your extensive CIT experience, you came with a unique background that sort of was a perfect fit.
Yes, I couldn't have asked for anything better. So for 21 and a half years, I was a prosecutor in the Philadelphia DA's office. And for 8 of those years, I was chief of the Public Nuisance Task Force Unit, where we shut down drug properties, whether residential or commercial, out of which drugs were being dealt, nuisance bars, brothels, and speakeasies. And then for 1 year, I was chief of staff at the Department of Licenses and Inspections. So I learned a great deal about demolition, construction, the Philadelphia Code. And when this position came up, it is just absolutely ideal because I love the city. I love getting rid of blight. And Joel and Rick really paved the way, as did you and Representative Taylor, with a tool that is so fantastic and we're so lucky to have.
And what is so now you're there, what job do you have in steering the ship for Shirley Turco? And you can tell us a little bit about Caring People Alliance, because I know that's sort of the larger entity that has incorporated Shirley Turco.
Sure. So I'm program director, but really I work hand in hand with Joe, and we pick what properties we want to move on. We discuss them. Joe is wonderful because he knows, I work with Joe, what kind of work needs to be done on the house, and deciding, is this worthwhile, working with contractors, seeing what our budget can Shirley Turco financially afford this, because sometimes a lot of work needs to go into it, but it's just wonderful, and just kind of trying to get Shirley Turco's name out there even more. And in 2018, Shirley Turco became affiliated with Caring People Alliance, which is our parent nonprofit. And Caring People Alliance has been in existence since 1932, and it provides quality services to children, families, and seniors throughout Philadelphia, with 3 community centers in West Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, and North Philadelphia.
You nailed that. Very good. And I couldn't see if she was she reading, Kay, or did she just fire that?
No, that was off the dome.
That's what a CIT
I have
does.
learned how to do elevator speeches.
That a girl. So let's talk a little bit before we get to our next break. Let's talk a little bit about the state of Act 135 today. You all are kind of the prominent group that has been filing on them. Where do we sit today? Where have you find the successes to be, and where have you found still some of the issues that need to be addressed? We'll start with Rick.
Well, I think one of the main issues that needs to be addressed is just a general perception of it. I can't tell you how many attorneys come in and jump up and down saying someone's trying to take a property when that property sat vacant and generally is collecting L&I violations and become a burden on the community around it. So that's a general perception, I think, that's out there that's truly incorrect. The person that is in court because of this type of property generally has already been in court with license and inspection violations, and the idea that someone's trying to take a property is really false. It's typically been exposed to a tax sale at one point, typically had other problems with the property that this person or persons, companies have not addressed. And it's really just unfortunate that attorneys try and frame it in that light.
And that's a great point. And I tell this war story every time. In fact, we were in a meeting yesterday and I told it again. I don't know if my good friend Christine Goldbeck is listening. Christine, we love you. Christine, for those who don't know, she's a little pepper pot who is the executive director of the House Urban Affairs Committee. And we had a meeting many years ago, Kay, in one of my prior lives when I worked in Philadelphia City Council. And I knew I was going to go work in the House, and I brought down Representative Taylor, Representative Ross, who was head of urban affairs, and Christine, to educate City Council on Commonwealth of Pennsylvania blight tools, which at the time was Act 135 and the Land Bank. And the biggest pushback we got, and I'll tell the Christine story in a minute because it was just so Christine, was they couldn't get it out of their heads, at least initially, that this is not eminent domain. And I think, Rick, you kind of made that point. You know, we're not taking Grandma or Aunt Matilda's house. But at the end of the day, I just remember Christine slamming her fist on the caucus table and the round big table in the conference room and screaming at city council members, this is why Philadelphia is in the state that it's in. So we had our work cut out for us. So it sounds like, Rick, too, you've had that issue even educating judges, right?
Yeah, I mean, judges get it right away, and a lot of times will admonish the attorney and sometimes explain how the act actually works, which anyone who's a respondent in the case has the opportunity to do the work themselves, has the opportunity to, as I said, pay off the conservator once their work is done, if they're appointed. And in the end, if the property does go to sale, they get the balance of the proceeds after the conservator is reimbursed and paid for their efforts.
We're going to take our last break and bring this baby home in the home stretch. You're listening to Find It at Fishtown Live on WWDB, and we'll be right back at you.
It's been part of Philly for over 10 years, so Rivers Casino Philadelphia knows how you like to play. With better odds, more playtime, an upgraded rewards program, plus a state-of-the-art sports book, great restaurants, and more. Everything that real players want, without the overpriced distractions. Rivers Casino Philadelphia is for those who play to win, not play to pay for some fancy new place. Rivers Casino Philadelphia, always on our game. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Being there matters, and your United States Navy protects and defends America on the world's oceans. Around the globe, around the clock, Navy ships, submarines, aircraft, and most importantly, tens of thousands of America's finest young men and women are ready to defend America when piracy threatens global commerce, when disaster strikes, or when called upon by the Commander-in-Chief. Your Navy is there. When it comes to protecting and defending America, being there matters. And America's Navy is already there.
What is hope? Hope to me was just that he would get to come home. I had no idea how hard it would be once he got back.
I wish she'd stop drinking so much. She thinks it's helping, but it's not. I hope she sees that soon.
I act like I don't care if he comes to my games, but I hope he does.
I used to hope he'd find happiness again. Now I hope our marriage makes it.
I hope Grandpa will get help. He thinks it's too late, but it's not.
With everything that he's going through, I hope he sees a counselor. I just want my brother back.
I hoped he'd get help. Stop hoping things would get better on their own. He told me to stop asking. I didn't. Then one day he asked for a ride.
Hope is knowing there are other families just like yours, that the veterans they love got help and recovered. Go to maketheconnection.net and turn hope into action.
Welcome back, everybody. And what you talking about? We're in the home stretch of Find It at Fishtown Live here on WWDB 860 AM. And of course, as always, the Batman to my Robin K. Anderson and I'm Mark Colazzo are here talking about, of course, Blight and solving Blight in the Fishtown District, joined by Richard Vanderslythe, Beth Grossman, and Joel Palmer. Guys, we want to bring this home, kind of make it a little Fishtown-centric, and we could probably tell war stories every day. But I know Kay has dealt with this, working in the district for a while. We've had our job in the Fishtown District is to continue the growth of our commercial corridor, and that's also making sure that properties are in good shape, good standing, and occupied. And we have one that we are thrilled to be working on with you right at 401-05 East Girard Avenue. Kay, before we let our guests comment a little bit about it, you've worked on this property over the years in your prior life at New Kensington CDC.
Oh, I have a prior life.
Say, you don't have as many as mine, but you do have big hair. So
Hey.
You got me beat. Tell us a little bit about what went on with this property, what it was, and what the problems we now face with it.
Yeah. So this property used to be a mission. It was a place where folks could go if they were a little down on their luck, looking for a food pantry in the area, or just looking for other resources to get back on their feet, and get back to doing what they love. So this was a nonprofit that was in operation for over 20 years in the neighborhood, just that I know of. And unfortunately, the nonprofit fell into some tough times. They lost a lot of their funding, and the property had a fire. And the fire really burnt out a lot of the upper floor. And the nonprofit just didn't have the money to fix the property back up after the fire. The nonprofit ended up going out of business. And then the property sat vacant for at least 3 years prior to the Fishtown district taking notice.
And one of the things, it's got the orange sticker from L&I sealing it up. Adjacent property owners complain constantly of leaks because I think the roof is gone from the fire. People breaking in it. It's really caused to be a detriment. So the Fishtown district wanted to jump in to try to get it back. Joel Palmer, you went to look at this property. What did you think, and why did you think it fit for Act 135?
Well, clearly Fishtown is a thriving community, and this was a drag on that block and that area. And it, as Christine said, it met the criteria clearly. We had photographs provided by neighbors and the ones that we could take from public sidewalks that showed the blight. So that was our initial assessment, was that yes, it qualified. The complicating factor for us, but one that we are, I think, equipped to handle, is there are very close to $250,000 in liens on the property, starting with the Internal Revenue Service, going down through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and through the city. Beth, due to her experience with the city and Philadelphia, is negotiating with the revenue departments to manage those liens to a manageable number. And similarly, we're doing the same thing with the Commonwealth, which has been very responsive, and the IRS, which has been responsive. They want to see these properties moved as well. And as government agencies, they're somewhat limited in what they can do, but they are cooperating with us. So there's really two prongs to the effort by Shirley Turco. There'll be the legal process effort that Richard will shepherd through the courts and get us conservatorship. And as a fiduciary of the court, then we will work to whittle these liens down to make the property saleable.
And one of the things we're proud to partner with Shirley Turco to be co-petitioners on this action. And listen, our goal at the end of the day is we want to make sure that property is put back into good use, where there's a thriving commercial tenant on the lower level, but also affordable, good housing units above it. And I think this act gives us that opportunity to do that. Rick, one of the things we want to make sure when we talk about that this is not eminent domain, the owner doesn't necessarily, though, get left in the cold, assuming the owner doesn't want to step up, do the work, or even show up. Tell us a little bit about the out sale process, the end.
Right. Well, as I alluded to earlier, the culmination of the conservator's work, one of the options at the end is for the conservator to sell the property to recoup their costs. And basically it's placed on either the multiple listing service or an equivalent means of advertising the property. Once Beth and Joe get done with the liens, and hopefully there's some proceeds left over, that would go back to the mission in this case. But at the end of the process, the court, you take your offers to the court that you've received on the property. The court says, go with this one, and you can sell the property to anyone in the public. Typically, it's developers because they know what to do and with a clean envelope, clean, secure envelope, and can usually get the best price from those individuals.
And I think one of the things we remind people is, what is the importance of having a judge having to sign off on this for really every step of the way, including the final out sale? Why do you believe that adds credibility to the act?
Well, as Joe said, the conservator is a fiduciary, and typically fiduciaries report to either the court or the attorney general. So in this case, you're reporting back to the court, and the court makes sure that the respondent or owner of the property gets fair treatment. Obviously, on our side of the fence, we see a lot of bad actors, but on the other hand, there are entities like the Mission that just couldn't make it work. And I think a lot of times in these types of situations, the court will protect their interests along with the attorney general.
And one of the things is interesting that if you guys can get into is this mission has been, for lack of a better word, defunct for at least the last 3 years or more. And certainly being able to talk to anybody has been a near impossibility. Should that continue and there is no organization, what does the court do if there's any proceeds left in a case where it's like the Mission?
We had a similar case with a building in Chinatown. That property was sent to the Orphans Court, which deals with nonprofit entities, and the proceeds were divided between similar nonprofits or nonprofits with similar goals, and put back into the community. And I believe a rec center was developed with a substantial portion of the funds in Chinatown.
Beth, question for you as you go about your day-to-day work. What's next for Caring People and Shirley Turco?
Well, I'll just start with Shirley Turco, and I just sent the info, but if anybody wishes to report a possible blighted and vacant property that might fit our criteria, they can email me at bgrossman, BGROSSMAN @ShirleyTurco.org, and that is SCIOLITURCO.org. And Joe and I are happy to look at properties all throughout the city and county of Philadelphia. We're also looking to sort of spread our reach outside the city and county of Philadelphia, whether it's to act as a consultant to other groups in the different counties or perhaps establishing offices there. But we would like Shirley Turco to get a reputation and be a well-known resource throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And as for Caring People Alliance, we are excited because we will be opening up our new West Philadelphia Community Center at 59th and Catherine, probably at the start of the new school year in September. So if people are looking for Philly pre-K and pre-K classes and boys and girls clubs, they can go to our website at caringpeoplealliance.org. It's an amazing organization. And thank you so much for having us on.
Oh, please. This has been really the greatest hour of broadcasting in the history of broadcasting. So we thank all of you. One of the things we kind of talk about a little bit is most people, when they think of blight, they think of residences. But Act 135 applies to all types of properties, right? Have you found that the Act has been used for or used enough for commercial properties, or is it still primarily a residential tool?
We've done, this is Joe, Mark, we've done a couple of industrial properties, one of them a very large steam plant at 9th and Willow, which we're drawing to a close on right now, and a current case which involves an abandoned railroad depot at 9th and Spring Garden. So as Beth alluded to earlier, we are looking to increase the scope and size of projects that we do because obviously a larger project will have a larger impact. So it isn't limited to residences and commercial or industrial properties. We can bring a great deal of expertise to bear on those as well.
And Kay and I can testify that certainly to build and maintain commercial corridors, and we have quite a few in the city of Philadelphia alone, let alone the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, this is a great tool. Lastly, guys, and I'll leave this to whomever, any thoughts of expanding your reach to matters outside of the greater Philadelphia area?
Sure. Yes, we would love to. We are sort of limited a little bit as a city of the first class by Act 135 itself, but as for being able to be a named petitioner, but that doesn't mean we can't assist other groups in the collar counties or in Allegheny County out in Pittsburgh or anywhere. So we could be a good source of, how the practice and mechanics work, or maybe we could figure out how to spread our reach so we can bring petitions in all 67 counties of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Well, we certainly encourage everyone to do that. Joel, for those that want to find out more about Shirley Turco, how do we do that?
We have a Facebook page, Shirley Turco. The latest posting just occurred this week. Beth and our CEO, Jerry McDonald, received an honor from the Preservation Alliance with the 2021 Board of Directors Achievement Award. So you'll see that on our Facebook page. And as Beth indicated, just write to her or give us a call. We'll help you out.
And by the way, for those that are thinking, how do I spell Shirley Turco? Because that's always the question. I'm going to put that to you, Joel. You're the king speller. How do we spell that?
SCIOLI, Shirley Turco, TURCO.org.
And you do have a website as well, don't you?
I believe we do, yes.
Yes, you do. I checked it. See, it's called Show Prep. And Rick, if they want to get F. Lee Vanderslice on any legal matters, how do we find you?
www.vanderslicelaw.com. V as in Victor, ANDERSLICELAW.com. My phone is 215-667-8070.
And he truly is.
I will plug Rick. He is a wonderful attorney.
Oh, he very much is. And I always say, he is truly a Vanderslice of heaven. So, Rick Vanderslice, thank you very much. Beth Grossman and Joel Palmer, thanks for joining us today on Finding the Fishtown Live.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for all that you do, not just in the city, throughout the Commonwealth. Look forward to our continued work together.
So do I.
Take care, folks.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Top of the morning to you. There you go. See, Kay, there's going to be a quiz later of all of the fabulous things that you learned. I always tell the story with why Act 135 fits. We used it back in our old legislative district, and I think you've heard me tell the affectionate story of the rat house.
Yes, I've heard.
Where we had a house, beautiful, nice old Bridesburg property. Sadly, the woman who lived there was elderly and had some dementia issues, and she would leave dog food out to feed the rats. And when we finally had to go get her out, I remember someone saying, "Boy, those cats look big," and they were not cats. And that property we immediately put it this way. That property was a wonderful tool for that family to help renovate that double lot and also to get them some money to take care of their elderly mother. But I can just recall being asked, would you like to come inside? And I don't know that there's a hazmat suit thick enough to have made me feel comfortable. Nope. So I was, exactly. Hit that again.
Nope.
There you go. There you go. Okay, in our last few minutes, is there anything you want to share or add? I always like to make sure to remind my son, Jarrett, who, by the way, Kay, got his driver's permit.
Yay, congratulations.
So that'll mean Daddy will have to get another 3 jobs to buy him a car.
Excellent.
Yes.
And I'm going to stay off the roads.
Yes. Well, very much so. But make sure if you're listening, son, get back to school. Also, my niece, Jenna, who is now currently in Vanderbilt, just got accepted to Temple Medical School. So we're all proud. We have another Dr. Colazzo, my brother, my sister-in-law, and technically I am a juris doctor because I went to law school. I don't know if you knew that.
That was another prior life.
Another prior life. So a lot of good stuff going on in the Colazzo household. Though my mother, Kay, has not called our Florida correspondent to tell us what's going on with her vaccinations or the dog or any
the weather.
The weather's in the 80s. It's very nice, she said.
Oh, good. I was concerned.
She's focused on my niece these days. So this is so takes the pressure off of me.
Right. And your son.
Yes. Well, my son pretty much just sits in the house, goes to school, watches movies, and plays his guitar.
That sounds like the life.
It is very much the life. I am basically, he fits me in to those schedules. Any big plans for you, Kay, for St. Patty's Day?
It is my partner's birthday.
Happy birthday,
my partner's
Sam.
Mother's birthday. Sorry, excuse me.
Sam's mom.
Yes. So we are going back to Fabrica tomorrow. I'm very excited.
Yes.
So that'll be fun. We're gonna go see another dinner show. And I'm gonna have them experience all that Fishtown has to offer.
And that will make it the happiest of birthdays. Do me a favor. Let me know what Mom thinks of some of the burlesque acts, or even though it's Thursday, it's a different theme.
Yes, Thursday is International Night, so I'm hoping that the snake dancer is there again. She was incredible, but I'm sure Linda's gonna have a great time.
You can't not in the Fishtown district. And one last time, Kay, how do we find all that's going on in the Fishtown district?
FishtownDistrict.com.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in for another infotainment episode of Find It at Fishtown Live. We'll see you next week.